Our next speaker, Ted Pancoast Woodworking. I met Ted on Group 14 in Japan. For those of you, as I'm listing off groups, I've been on 3 Japan tours, and each time I've taken members of our team with me to experience drinking through a fire hose, as I used that last night, and it's been used by several people in this room over time. Ted has a very interesting story on how lean has affected his life in the most positive way possible and has affected the lives of others. And so without further ado, Ted Pancoast.
Okay. Is this thing on? Okay. So the topic here is changing our world. So this is a big topic. I've worked hard on this. I hope it shows through. If you developed a superhuman ability to fly, and you walk outside and get your 1-2 down and launch yourself into the air and go about 1,300 miles straight north of here, you will wind up at my shop, Ted Pancoast Woodworking. It's in a really rural area, surrounded by a bunch of trees. I live there with my wife. I walk down my driveway to work, and I have 9 adopted kids. So, what do? Well, we make high-end residential casework, hoods. We do some molding work. Mostly what we do is commercial, dental offices, medical offices, and we do a lot of public school casework. Now, that's exciting stuff up there, isn't it? Isn't that what you guys came to see? I think not. Okay. The reason I put that up there is just because I know people will ask me. This is a picture that I've been seeing a lot in the lean community lately. Matter of fact, I'm on Paul's beta tester team, and they're making a bench, and I think they're actually even engraving a no bending over sign into their bench. So this topic, just by its very nature, the changing our world talk, is going to take a turn for the super serious at some point. So to keep things balanced, I want to start off on a lighter side. So here's my reaction to not wanting to bend over ever. I decided I wanted to try to learn how to tie my shoe without bending over and without touching it. So I shot a little video. Here's what it looks like. You can actually accomplish this, right? Right? That's pretty cool, right? I know what you're thinking. Is that a camera trick? No, that's a real thing. You can actually do that. It is not lean, however, because in order to accomplish that, it's a magic trick, okay? In 2007, that was the Street Magic Trick of the Year. It takes about 10 minutes to set up to make it look like you tied your shoe without actually tying it. So it's not lean at all. It looks cool, but it's not lean, okay? What actually is lean is this thing, because I really did not want to bend over. I found this super long shoehorn. Okay, that picture is not stretched out. That's a normal picture of the shoehorn that hangs by my door. And because my wife likes me to take my shoes off, so I come in, I pop it in, I don't even untie my shoes anymore. So I solved the problem just in my wacky way, right? So I know a lot of you here have $1 million ideas, like an extra long shoehorn. And I know most of you are putting those ideas into practice, okay? If you're not, if you have some amazing ideas and you haven't started working on them yet, I got a slogan for you. There it is. Actually, my brother-in-law has this on a t-shirt. It says, "Procrastinators of the world unite tomorrow." Okay. Get a little more serious. If you're going to make a dent on the universe, you cannot wait. All right? You have to start now. Paul calls it a sense of urgency. Okay? Me, I'll tell you the story about how I got there in a minute, but I didn't have that sense of urgency. I'm a pretty laid-back guy. I was moderately successful already. I started my company in 1996. I was cruising along for 15 years, doing okay. What do I need to change for, right? That common thing you hear, resistance to change, right? But I knew there was something holding me back from my big goals. Because I did have a BHAG, right? That big, hairy, audacious goal. Somewhere I wanted to get, something that I wanted to do. About 10 years ago, I started adopting children. I had three little girls at that point. After, a few years into it, I knew I wanted to do more. I know I could do more, but my business just wasn't that successful. It just wasn't. I needed something. I knew I needed something. I was doing my best. I was working super hard, right? But I needed something. So girls, I want you to know this is an equal opportunity presentation. Okay? I know what you're thinking, ladies. No, that is not your husband right there. Okay. Maybe what you really need is more time, right? Maybe that's keeping you from accomplishing your goals, okay? What about this one? This happens to me. You got no energy after work, right? What about money? I'm going to hit this right in the face. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but if your annual household income for a family of 4 is more than $50,000 a year, then you are in the wealthiest 1% of people in the world. That's the facts of it. Now, I don't consider myself to be a rich person, but the bottom line is, on a global scale, every single person in this room is extremely wealthy. Okay, so if you're using money as an excuse not to go forward with a project, you might want to rethink that, okay? If you don't have money, I guarantee your friends do, right? Maybe your main goal is to try to convince them that what you need to do is a good idea. Maybe you're this guy, head up in a locked position, just go in the direction you're going, got the blinders on. I've been there before. Uninterested and apathetic. Yeah. That might be keeping you from doing amazing things. Okay, I realized when I made this slide the other day and I saw Rick that this kind of looked like Rick. So Rick, this was completely unintentional. I found a guy, I typed pride into the computer, and this is the picture that came up. This is not Rick, but this is pride. And actually, pride is one of my biggest problems because I've got a big ego. I'm a proud person, and I'm not really good at asking other people to help me with projects, right? I've learned how to ask my team to help me in the shop. But when it comes to big things, I'm always a little hesitant to say, hey, you want to join me on this? Because I'm the guy, right? I'm the one. I'm going to do this. I'm taking the credit, too, at the end, right? Pride gets in my way all the time. Okay, maybe there's something else holding you back. I put a few up there with things that were holding me back. I'm sure what's holding you back are different things. So really my biggest issue before Lean was I was just plain overburdened all the time. Busy running my company, right? I was this guy right here with the little sword. And don't talk to me about some cool business idea. I'm fighting the fight, and I'm doing fine, right? Well, there's a chain gun on the ground right there, right? You know what that chain gun represents to me? That's Lean. That chain gun is Lean. If you're the guy fighting with the sword, pick up the chain gun. I didn't do it. I hadn't done it. I saw this picture a long time ago after I had adopted 3 girls, and I became aware that there were also a lot of boys that were suffering. I now have 9 adopted kids, so 5 of those kids are boys. 4 of them are girls. I'd like to tell you all their stories. I don't have time for that. I'll tell you the story of my oldest 2. So my oldest son, who's 21 now, I adopted when he was 14, and he told me after a year or so, and his English was pretty good, why he was abandoned by his kids, by his parents. He was not an orphan. He was abandoned, which I couldn't figure that out. Why would you abandon your son, right? And he said the night before he was abandoned, his parents, biological parents, got in a huge fight. And what they were arguing about was this. He was starving to death, right? That's the face. That's what it looks like. He was starving to death. His mom wanted to take him to the CWI, which is the orphanage in China, and leave him there because at least she knew that way he'd have 3 meals a day, okay? His dad had the same reaction I would have as a father. You can imagine. What if your wife said, you know what, honey, our kids are starving. We got to abandon them. No, right? Is it working now, or did I just really break it? Did I really just break the microphone? Do you have another one? Okay, Rick, you have to send me a bill for that. I'm not abandoning my kids, okay? My 19-year-old also has a tough story. Actually, it's a little tougher than even the story I just told you. And I know that picture's hard to look at. But my 19-year-old, when he was 6 years old, his biological father had a horrible gambling problem, was addicted to gambling. Racked up a gigantic debt with the triads, which is like the Chinese mafia. You don't want to rack up a giant debt to the triads. They showed up at his house when he was 6 years old, and they drug his father out into the front yard, and they beat his father to death right in front of him. Him and his little 3-year-old sister. So his mom fled out the back door. I can't hear that without thinking, you know what, I got to do something about this, right? How many of you are parents? Just about all of you? I got super motivated then. I'm going to figure this out. And I realized I had to straighten out my priorities. And I knew that the priorities that I talked about didn't match up with what my life actually did. So here's the first thing. How was I spending my time? Right? How was I spending my thoughts? What was I thinking about? Where was my money going? Those are what your priorities actually are, regardless of what you say. Now, for me, I had a problem because what I said was my priorities did not line up with what my priorities should have been, and I knew I needed to change it. So I got on the internet and I typed in, running my business better, right? You don't have to search around too much before you come across this thing, lean, right? What is lean? I don't even know what lean is. I had no idea. I'd known Paul for a long time. I've been buying fast caps for 20 years. Before I knew anything about lean. In Denver, I was buying fast caps because I'm a cabinet maker. As I researched it, I realized, okay, in his book, I got inspired by the idea that you should change from batch and queue to one-piece flow. Y'all remember the demonstration about his laser jam, where they had that whole thing? I read that and I thought, wow, I wonder if that would work in my cabinet shop. And I know there's some Gemba Academy guys here. I saw an envelope stuffing demonstration, right? I started poking into lean and I saw a few things and I thought, I'm going to try it. I'm going to switch from batch and queue to one-piece flow. So I did. It was a pain in the butt for me too because woodworking machinery is expensive. I had to move some equipment around because I didn't have stuff right to do it in one arc. I had to do some wiring, right? Well, I think you all know the outcome at the end of that. What happened is, was it a little faster? Yeah, it was way faster. And I'm not just guessing at that. We made cabinets for a boat company, Hughes Marine, and I knew from doing that for 10 years that it would take 3 days for 2 of my guys to make one of these orders. So I'd been doing that for 10 years, right? The first time we tried it, those same 2 guys were done with the order at lunchtime on the second day, right? The first time, and we weren't even good at it. We just moved the machines and stopped what we were doing. So my reaction when I realized that was that, right? And that's kind of a joke, but I went through a whole range of emotions like, I'm such an idiot. I've wasted 15 years of my life doing 7 years worth of work, right? That's what I was thinking, right? And I honestly, I was disgusted with myself. I thought, I literally have flushed things down the toilet just like that, right? So, okay, I was all in at that point. You heard the analogy, drink from the fire hose. I decided I'm going to learn everything that I can learn about lean, everything that I can absorb. I'm all in. I get it. It's better. I'm going to do it. There's no excuses, right? So what did I do? We started having a morning meeting, right? All of the things that you've all done. Organized a Kanban system. Now, I had no idea what that meant or how it worked. Brad Carnes was kind enough to explain it to me a few years ago. I said, Brad, what the heck is a Kanban? It's going to help me, right? He explained it in a way that I could understand, so thank you for that. Was able to implement it in the shop, right? I started exploring that Schmed concept idea. As we bought new equipment, I bought new equipment that didn't require setup. I had a CNC brake. I bought that one specifically because it doesn't require any setup. Same cycle time as my old one, same amount of value added time, 0 setup, twice as fast, okay? Started to adopt that long-term thinking. Where's my company going to be in 50 years? As we focused on quality and our quality went up, I was able to invest in some other nicer machines. I got a big saw, right? Started to do the organization. Got Kaizen foam all over my shop, right? Everything's tight, dialing it in, trying to buckle it down. Also realized that I had a problem here. I was out of balance. I was trying to do everything. I told you, I got the pride issue, right? Not allowing my employees to do enough, right? Started trying to cross-train them. Started trying to have them take over some of the things that I was doing, right? Put up a scrum board. I heard somebody back there talking about Agile. Ours was super simple. It's 3 cabinets. It's still super simple. We got sticky notes on one door. That's stuff we got to do. They're color-coded by job, okay? Sticky notes on the middle door that we're working on. Sticky notes on the outside. Allows people to come and grab the low-hanging fruit, right? Okay. Also adopted an attitude of taking the time to stop and fix it. Okay. That allowed me more time and more money and more energy. And what I did was invest that into those young boys. This is my son now. He's 21 years old. He is in the Marine Corps. He's big and he's fast and he's strong and he's super smart, and I'm super proud of him. He has come a long ways from that starving little kid, right? As I said, I have, yes. I have 8 other children. I'd love to tell you their story, but I just don't have time. I'm happy to share any of their stories with you. They are all equally amazing, trust me. All right, that's enough about me. Here's what I want out of this. I want you to imagine the possibilities for you and your company. Think about that thing you want to do. And I know almost all of you here are doing incredible things, right? The guys at Seating Matters not too long ago raised, 10,000 euros, right? Ran the Belfast Marathon. Why did they do that? To help inner city kids, the impoverished children. I know Angel was an active participant in the Relay for Life, right? The opportunities are out there. I know you're all doing them. What I'm saying is, I want you to embrace that altruistic part of your mind. Grab onto that idealistic part of your mind and run with it. Harness the power of lean and run with it. My hope, I have to say, I felt a lot of pressure about this presentation because I know that all of you can accomplish things on a level that very few people ever can. I have tremendous faith in the people in this group because you're humble enough to say, I need help. I need to figure this out. I think you're limitless. Here's what I want to end with. Do something. But don't wait, right? You said don't wait. Start today. Do it now. Okay? Think about the dent that you want to make in the world and do it. That's what I've got. So thank you very much for your time.
No, you didn't.
Oh, the batteries came loose. Okay, so I did not break the microphone.
Is it operational?
Okay.
Okay. It's back working. I don't have to pay for it now.
I've done that a bunch of times. I was really surprised.
Well, the impressive thing is you broke it and it didn't hurt. Well, it hurt the microphone, but questions for Ted. Paul in the back.
Ted, for the whole room, for all the crap I gave you, that was unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
No, you know, and Paul, I want to add to that it doesn't matter what any of us do in this room, we will never change lives like Paul or like Ted's doing.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty special thing that you've done. So
thank you, Paul.
Absolutely amazing.
I appreciate that, man. I put hundreds of hours into that because I know that you put all this time and energy into helping all of us. Thank you.
So, questions for Ted? Anybody have a question?
I just want to duplicate. You just made a huge impact. I know when I'm brought to tears by somebody sharing their heart and passion. So I don't have any questions for you. I just want to thank you so much for sharing your heart with us.
Thank you. I showed the presentation to my wife. She's actually probably a little bit smarter than I am, and so I always want her input. And she didn't make it. She just started crying in the middle. So thank you. I don't think there's nothing to be said.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. I really appreciate you being here with us. And, you know, I think if this says nothing about anything, I have been fortunate enough through this group, and thank you, Paul, for this group, that I have met some unbelievable people. Ted at the top of the list right now for what he's done. But everybody in here, there's something special about this group. And if you can't feel it, then you're in the wrong room. You're just in the wrong room, because this is a really special group of people. And I'm very proud to be friends and acquaintances and all the things that we've got here, because it's a really amazing group. So give yourself a round of applause.